Have you ever wondered who really pulls the strings behind the scenes in politics? This question has intrigued many, and today we dive into the concept of the deep state. This term refers to a form of covert organization or network within a political system, operating outside the democratic framework, potentially exerting a significant influence on state affairs. The concept of a deep state isn't new. Its roots can be traced back to ancient times, when powerful families or groups exerted influence behind the throne. Over the centuries, the concept evolved, taking different forms across diverse political landscapes. In the modern world, the term deep state gained prominence in the late 20th century, specifically in countries grappling with political instability. Now, it's important to clarify that the deep state isn't a universally accepted concept. It's often seen as a conspiracy theory by skeptics, while others believe it's a reality that shapes political outcomes. The deep state, if it exists, is believed to comprise high-ranking officials in the intelligence services, military, civil service, judiciary, and in some cases, influential private sector groups. These individuals, often unelected, are thought to hold the true power, making decisions that steer the course of the nation, regardless of the elected government's intentions. The deep state, as theorized, operates in the shadows, away from public scrutiny, making it incredibly difficult to verify its existence or measure its influence. Its alleged operations range from shaping policy decisions and manipulating public opinion to orchestrating events that alter the political landscape. For instance, some argue that certain unexpected political events, such as a president being disqualified from running for re-election, or a prime minister finding himself behind bars, could be the machinations of a deep state trying to control the political narrative. But again, such claims often lack concrete proof and remain within the realm of speculation. So the question remains, do deep states truly manage state affairs? As we delve deeper into this enigmatic topic, we'll explore various viewpoints and evidence, leaving you to draw your own conclusions. Stay tuned as we unravel this political mystery. To understand the possible influence of deep states, we need to look at the timeline of events. Let's start with the late 20th century. It was a time when the world was rapidly changing, with nations transitioning from totalitarian regimes to democratic systems. During this period, we see a trend of political leaders being disqualified from running for office, often due to legal issues. These disqualifications, interestingly, often seem to target those who posed a threat to the established order. As we move into the early 21st century, this trend continues. Around the globe, we see a rise in legal battles that result in the disqualification of political figures. It's interesting to note that these disqualifications often occur during times of political tension or societal unrest. Then we move into the mid-21st century. At this point, the pattern of disqualification evolves into direct imprisonment. Political figures begin to face more than just disqualification from running for office. They are now being put behind bars. This trend is seen across various continents, suggesting a global influence. Now, let's step into the last decade. We see an escalation in the use of these tactics. Disqualifications and imprisonments are not only more frequent but also more public, almost as if there's a message being sent. The figures targeted are often those who challenge the status quo or advocate for radical change. It's important to note that these events are not isolated incidents. They occur in different parts of the world, at different times, and against different political figures. Yet the common thread is the systematic removal of individuals who pose a threat to the established order. As we trace these events, a pattern of deep state involvement begins to emerge. This pattern suggests an unseen force operating behind the scenes, influencing the course of political affairs. But how exactly does this deep state operate, and what impact does it have on democracy? These are questions we'll delve into as we continue our journey into the world of deep states. One common technique allegedly used by deep states to control political landscapes is the disqualification of key figures. Let's delve into this intriguing tactic. Imagine a chess game, where every piece on the board represents a political figure. Now, what if a player could simply remove key pieces from the game, not by outmaneuvering them, but by declaring them ineligible to play? That's disqualification in a nutshell. In the political arena, disqualification often manifests as barring individuals from running in elections. This could be due to a variety of reasons, from legal issues, financial irregularities, or even personal conduct. By disqualifying prominent figures, the deep state can effectively filter out potential threats and control the political narrative to their advantage. Consider a hypothetical scenario. A charismatic reformist leader is gaining popularity and threatens the status quo. Suddenly, a past legal discrepancy is brought to light, and the leader is disqualified from the upcoming election. The timing, some might say, is suspiciously convenient. Another example could be that of a seasoned political veteran known for his unyielding stance against certain policies. He's a thorn in the side of the deep state, and voila, an old financial scandal resurfaces, leading to his disqualification. One might argue, isn't disqualification a legal process? Yes, indeed it is. However, the deep state's influence may permeate various facets of the system, including the judiciary. Thus, a seemingly legal process can be manipulated to serve a hidden agenda. It's important to note that these are theoretical examples, and not every disqualification is a manifestation of deep state influence. That said, the potential for misuse of this technique is undeniable. As the saying goes, power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. In conclusion, disqualification, while a legitimate tool to maintain the integrity of the political process, can also be weaponized. By controlling who gets to run in elections, deep states can significantly influence political outcomes, sometimes in ways that aren't immediately apparent. Disqualification, a seemingly legal process, can serve as a powerful tool in the hands of deep states. Another technique used to control political outcomes is imprisonment. This approach is not as overt as disqualification, but it's equally impactful. The incarceration of political figures, especially those with significant influence, can drastically shift the dynamics of power. Let's consider a hypothetical situation. Imagine a charismatic leader with a massive following, someone who poses a real challenge to the status quo. Suddenly, this leader is charged with allegations of corruption or misconduct, leading to their arrest. The result? A potential threat to the existing power structure is effectively neutralized. This scenario isn't as far-fetched as it might sound. Throughout history and across the globe, we've seen instances where political figures have been imprisoned under dubious circumstances, often on the brink of crucial elections or during periods of political instability. Now let's dive deeper into the implications of this strategy. By imprisoning a political figure, the orchestrators can not only remove a potential threat, but also create a climate of fear and uncertainty. This can lead to self-censorship among other potential challengers who may decide to step back rather than risk a similar fate. Imprisonment can also serve as a tool to sway public opinion. The arrest and trial of a popular figure could tarnish their image, leading to a loss of public support. Furthermore, it could create a narrative of corruption and misconduct that undermines the credibility of the entire political opposition. However, the use of imprisonment as a political weapon raises serious concerns about the state of democracy and political freedom. It threatens the fundamental principle of innocent until proven guilty, as political figures can be detained on mere allegations. This undermines the rule of law, one of the cornerstones of any democratic society. In addition, this strategy can lead to a decrease in political diversity. If potential challengers are deterred from participating in politics due to fear of imprisonment, the political landscape can become dominated by a single group or ideology. Thus, imprisonment can be an effective political weapon potentially wielded by deep states. It's a tactic that can effectively alter the political landscape, but it comes at a high cost to democracy and political freedom. The potential existence of deep states raises serious questions about the nature of democracy. Now, let's delve into the implications of such hidden forces on our democratic processes. At the heart of any democratic system lies the principle of power by the people, for the people. Voters elect their representatives, who in turn draft and implement policies that reflect the majority's will. But what happens when invisible entities begin to manipulate this process? The very fabric of democracy starts to unravel. Imagine a chess game where you, as a player, meticulously strategize, only to discover that an unseen hand is moving the pieces. This is what deep state activities could mean for democracy. They potentially undermine the citizens' power, leading to a dangerous erosion of democratic values. Now let's think about political freedom. In a true democracy, any eligible citizen has the right to run for office, promising to serve their constituents and country. But what if this freedom is curtailed by the actions of a deep state? The disqualification or imprisonment of potential leaders, not based on legal or ethical grounds, but as a result of hidden machinations, is a stark violation of this freedom. It's like having a race where unseen obstacles are placed in the path of certain runners, not because they've broken any rules, but because someone behind the scenes has decided they shouldn't win. This is the potential danger deep states pose to political freedom. But remember, this is hypothetical. There is much debate about the existence and influence of deep states. Yet, it's important to discuss these possibilities because they touch upon fundamental aspects of our societies. They force us to question, to scrutinize, and most importantly, to remain vigilant. The potential impact of deep states on democracy is not a light issue. It's a matter of the people's voice, the people's choice, and the people's power. The shadow of deep states, if they exist, could cast a long shadow on our democratic institutions. We must be aware, alert, and proactive in safeguarding the integrity of our democratic processes. So, what's the verdict on deep states and their influence on state affairs? As we've journeyed through this exploration, we've unveiled the concept of the deep state, a term that sparks intrigue and often controversy. Its roots run deeply into the fabric of our political systems, its influence subtly shaping the course of history. We've traced the chronology of deep state influence, highlighting its potential reach into our political sphere. From the corridors of power in Washington, D.C. to the bustling streets of Islamabad, the shadow of the deep state looms large. We've delved into the powerful technique of disqualification, a tool that has been allegedly wielded to manipulate political outcomes. High-profile figures such as President Trump and Prime Minister Imran Khan have been subject to such tactics, sparking questions about the true nature of their disqualifications. But it doesn't stop at disqualification. The chains of imprisonment have also been used as a tool, potentially silencing voices that challenge the status quo. The implications of such tactics are profound, shaking the very foundations of democracy. Democracy, the bedrock of our societies, the voice of the people, the beacon of freedom. The potential influence of the deep state on democracy cannot be understated. If left unchecked, this influence could undermine the principles we hold dear, casting a shadow over the transparency and fairness we expect from our political systems. In conclusion, while the existence of deep states remains a contentious issue, their potential influence on state affairs is a reality we cannot afford to ignore. The techniques they may employ and the implications for democracy are far-reaching. This is not about creating fear, but about promoting awareness, understanding, and ultimately, accountability. While the existence of deep states remains a topic of debate, their potential influence on state affairs cannot be ignored. So, what can we do in the face of these potential deep state influences? The answer is simpler than you may think. It starts with staying informed. Information is our most powerful weapon against any form of manipulation. By reading widely, scrutinizing the narratives we're presented with, and seeking out diverse sources of news and analysis, we can begin to see the bigger picture. This doesn't mean we should succumb to conspiracy theories or paranoia. Instead, it means developing a healthy skepticism and a desire to understand the world more deeply. Apart from staying informed, questioning narratives is vital. Every story has multiple sides, and it's up to us to explore them. We should question the motivations behind the decisions of those in power, the reasons certain events unfold as they do, and the effects these have on our societies. By questioning, we can uncover truths that might otherwise remain hidden. Active participation in democratic processes is also essential. This means more than just casting a vote every few years. It means engaging with our communities, voicing our opinions, and advocating for the changes we want to see. It means holding our leaders accountable, demanding transparency, and refusing to be silenced. We should also encourage others to do the same. Discuss these issues with friends, family, and colleagues. Share your findings and encourage them to conduct their own research. The more people that are aware and involved, the stronger our democracy becomes. So let's not be mere spectators in the theater of politics. Let's roll up our sleeves and dive into the complex, often messy world of statecraft. Let's challenge the narratives, question the status quo, and strive for a more transparent, accountable, and democratic system. In the end, the power of democracy lies in the hands of informed and active citizens. So, stay curious, stay informed, and most importantly, stay involved. Only by doing so can we ensure that the reins of power remain where they should, in the hands of the people.